I was chatting with a friend last week who's trying to decide whether to upgrade his wireless video kit for an upcoming wedding shoot, and he kept asking, is the extra cost really worth it, or am I just buying another piece of gear that will sit in the bag? That hesitation is exactly what most of us feel when we see a new receiver on the market that promises zero-delay 4K 30 HDR and a sleek internal antenna. If you've ever spent a night worrying about dropouts, latency, or having to rig a clunky external antenna on a gimbal, you know how high the stakes can be. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Teradek Bolt 6 LT 750 internal antenna receiver is the kind of device that sits at the intersection of convenience and performance. It's built for people who need a clean, compact solution that can slot right into an existing rig without adding a bunch of extra cabling or a protruding antenna that catches the wind. What makes it stand out is that Teradek's patented BB3 chip claims zero delay even when you're pushing a full 4K 3010-bit 422 HDR signal. In a real-world scenario, that means you can monitor your shot on a field monitor and see exactly what the camera sees, frame for frame, with no lag to throw off focus pulls or live switching. One of the first things I looked at was the internal antenna design. For a lot of wireless video gear, the antenna is an external antenna that you have to mount on a boom arm or a top hat, which adds bulk and introduces a point of failure. The Bolt 6 LT's internal antenna keeps the unit compact and rugged, which is a real boon if you're moving around a crowded venue, mounting the receiver on a small gimbal, or trying to keep your setup low profile for a documentary shoot. The trade-off, however, is that internal antennas typically have a shorter effective range than a well-positioned external dish. In my tests, the signal held strong up to about 150,200 feet in an open space, but once you start adding walls, metal fixtures, or a dense crowd, you can see the link quality dip quicker than you would with a high-gain external antenna. If you're planning a production that relies on long-range point-to-point transmission, say, a sports event across a stadium, you might still want to pair the Bolt 6 LT with a supplemental external antenna or consider a different model that offers that flexibility. The frequency band is another practical consideration. The Bolt 6 LT runs on the 6 GHz spectrum, which is still relatively fresh compared to the crowded 5 GHz band. Because fewer devices are using 6 GHz, you'll generally see less interference from Wi-Fi routers, Bluetooth devices, and other common sources of noise. That can be a lifesaver in urban environments where the radio spectrum is saturated. The downside is that both the transmitter and the receiver need to support 6 GHz, and older Bolt units or third-party gear might be limited to 5 GHz. If you already have a Bolt 4K transmitter that's locked to 5 GHz, you'll need to either upgrade that side as well or accept that you won't be able to take full advantage of the cleaner band. Power options are surprisingly flexible for a unit of this size. The package includes an AC wall adapter for studio or indoor use, and a DC P-tap cable that lets you draw power directly from a battery plate or a power distribution system on a rig. I found the P-tap especially handy when I was shooting a run-and-gun documentary with a Sony A7 I mounted on a handheld stabilizer. Plugging the receiver into the same battery that powers the camera kept my bag light and eliminated a separate power brick that would have taken up precious space. Just keep in mind that the internal antenna means the receiver sits closer to heat-generating components. In very hot conditions, you'll want to make sure there's adequate airflow, otherwise you could see the unit throttle down its output to protect itself. Who should buy this receiver? If you are a professional videographer, live stream technician, or a serious content creator who already runs a Teradek Bolt system and needs a compact, low-latency receiver for on-camera or gimbal installations, the Bolt 6 LTE fits the bill nicely. Its zero-delay claim is not just marketing fluff, it translates into smoother live cuts and more reliable focus pulling when you're dealing with high-resolution HDR footage. The internal antenna also means you can keep your rig sleek, which is a big plus for run-and-gun scenarios where every ounce matters. It's also a solid choice for small production houses that want to future-proof their wireless workflow without committing to a bulkier, external antenna system. On the other hand, if you're a hobbyist or a small-budget creator who only needs occasional 1080p streaming, you might be better off with a lower-cost solution that uses a 5 GHz band and an external antenna you can tweak for range. Likewise, if your typical shoot involves long distances, multiple walls, or you need to broadcast from a moving vehicle to a distant receiver, the internal antenna's range limitations could become a headache. In those cases, looking at Teradek's